I am not hearing myself correctly, so I'm opening YouTube so that I can hear myself on the phone. Just to test the sound. I'm really sorry I had some technical difficulties setting up the stream. Sometimes it just happens. But what are we doing today? We are painting. And I thought that I could just like wing it and do something that is kind of like fun and easy for me, if that's okay. Because it's been, this is the first live stream in some time. Okay, now it's working. I just see black on the screen. I'm gonna try to skip forward and see if I'm caught up. Sorry. Anybody feel free to just skip ahead to whenever I start painting. I just need to hear myself. Okay. Now it seems at least that I can hear myself. I'm really sorry. Okay, and today I think we are doing Sunbear brush as we are continuing forward in this Angramikko oils set. I'm going through every single brush in order, so I'm just gonna... right away I wanna talk about the characteristics of this brush, but I think this music is a little bit loud, don't you think? So I'm just gonna tone it down a notch. Okay, I lowered it quite a bit. Tell me if it goes too low. So, the thing that it was really hard to get right with this brush is like it has a very like soft character to it, like especially when I press lightly you can see that I can drag the paint quite a bit and mix it softly that way. But the thing that I really wanted to get right, and this is a feature that I love about brushes where I am able to do this, it's just very tricky to get the balance. If we zoom in close, you can see that there is this texture, this grittiness to it. And this is the texture that I pretty much like the most in the entire set, because it's not just a canvas, it's a canvas that has like very light gesso over it. So it has that sort of like, almost like painted look to it. These tiny holes, that's how you see it. We're gonna start with a gradient base. Hit the record button before I forget and get going. Music still seems rather loud, somebody is saying. Thanks for letting me know. I'm lowering it by further 3 dB. The microphone is at maximum, but it might be too far. I don't want to get it in front of the camera view, but can you hear me better now? The microphone was offline when I started this, so that's why it took me extra few minutes, because I needed to plug everything back in and boot the entire OBS system to get it to register those changes. This is probably not going to be seen on camera, but there is tons of Vivi's dog hair here on the screen. I'm just gonna try to pick them away. And then let's just paint. I'm gonna set this whole camera thingy up on a stand. Okay, thanks for letting me know about the sound. It's really hard to monitor myself when I'm talking, because I'm talking at the same time as I'm listening to myself talking, and I hear the audio of the music through headphones. So it's pretty hard to judge for myself what it sounds like. I just wanna like feel like blobbiness of the canvas and just see where this whole thing takes me, but I am kind of liking this more cinematic wide format. I think it's always difficult for painting anything that has trees in it, as the trees can go like over that area. I just want to create a silhouette that would be interesting. And then I can go into more detail, maybe. But I just want to find a silhouette that I can get excited about. I'm gonna grab one of those darker colors. By the way, I probably said this already earlier, but I am putting every single one of these palettes that I am using in this Angramiko Oils palette system, in this Angramiko Oil brush set. I can't talk right now. In these live streams, I am putting every single one of these palettes to the Angramiko Oils brush set product. So anybody who has bought it, you can go into your Gumroad library, and on the product page, you will see that these have been added to the downloads section of that product. Am I on a new layer? No. Damn it. And I think that was such an interesting tree branch shape too, so I'm gonna just copy it. Hello. Okay. Svagadelik. I don't know how to pronounce that. I mean, do people get offended when I pronounce someone's name wrong? I mean, nobody says my name right, like ever, unless they're Finnish. So I guess it's culture specific that like we have just learned not to be upset by that, but I probably shouldn't assume that everybody is that way. I want to make sure the eraser is the same brush. I've been using the graphic set recently, so that's why I was there. Okay, so Sun Bear. We still have so many brushes to go before all of these are gone, like complete the entire live streams series. But I'm having fun with these. Like I've been doing more public live streams after publishing the entire brush set, so that has been fun. I like painting on the membership live streams too, but it's often like different kinds of stuff that we do there. Like art exercises, which are going to get exciting starting next year, which is tomorrow. I don't know about you, but like for me, this entire year has just gone by so quickly, like just in a flash. I've done so many like tree paintings that I just really want to push myself to finding some kind of an interesting silhouette. So right now I started with these like extra wide days to see if that could be like something that I could do. Maybe kind of fan everything out like this, so that it looks like we're looking at the whole thing from below a little bit. I really don't feel like doing a landscape with tons of different layers and rolling hills today for some reason. It's just... whenever you have that feeling that like, today I feel like doing this or that, I recommend going with that feeling. Because then you have a lot more creative energy to put into things that actually matter. I kind of like that there are these sort of like more uniform sloping shapes on the left, and then they are contrasting with these harder edges, kind of like continuing that movement over here, kind of overshooting the base of the tree. Not sure where that is going, but I'm gonna find out. So right now I'm just focusing on the silhouette and trying to design a silhouette that would be interesting. Also, just as a like general vibe check on how you guys are feeling about the latest videos that I've been doing. Like, did anybody see the Pokemon video that I did? Because it's like that entire style of video is something that I've been literally thinking for years now. And because it was end of the year and I thought that like, okay, nobody's watching YouTube during December anyway, and nobody's buying any kind of product, so there's no point in me like absolutely killing myself with work when the effort like is probably not going to matter that much for the entire business of like running a YouTube channel. So I thought that I would just like finally do it, because I've been thinking about it for a long time. And I don't mean like just doing the Pokemon themed video, but a video where I take a video game and use my concept art skills to do something with it. And I definitely don't want to be doing like fan art, because I've never done that and I don't find it interesting for myself, like in literally in any way whatsoever. Because if something has like already been created, there's like no need for me to like design anything. But there are like game environments and game projects where I feel like there are interesting design challenges that are left unsolved, or that if a game could have, for example, a DLC expansion, like what would that look like? I think those are like interesting design challenges for me. Like not creating characters in different poses or something, because like that to me is also just falls under just fan art. That is not design work. I think this branch could have like a mirroring version here, something that is like as different as possible. That's pretty different. Once you start seeing and looking for patterns, it's actually pretty hard to come up with like organic branch shapes that stay visually interesting throughout the entire tree. And the more branches you have, the easier it is to like just accidentally repeat shapes. I think this could be a lot thicker somehow. I think that's okay. Popped in to say Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you too. I was supposed to play that one song. Maybe I'll do it at the end of the stream. I don't want to mess with the sound controls anymore before I have anything painted. I don't know how much anybody cares about the music in the first place. It's just like music for me when I'm painting. It's so important. I mean, I literally can't get anything done without music. It's because I have this synesthesia thing that I can sometimes see the music. I had to say that this this specific track is not doing it for me. Like I can't see this sound at all. But this I can see. There's no logic behind it. I guess it's also often like music genres that I like and I don't like. If I don't like the music, it's really hard for me to see it at all. And trying harder usually doesn't help. Mikko themed playlist for painting. That's funny. I think Shazamming is going to get harder and harder in the future. Because now these music services, they have so much material that they are like generating their own variants to them. And this might be controversial, but as a video producer, I just love it. It's so handy and it solves so many issues that like absolutely have been just like dominating my entire life for the past 5 years. How long have we been doing this now? But it used to be that I could never listen to like normal non-music licensing service music at all, because all of my time, literally all of my time listening to music, even sometimes when I'm out running, just goes into thinking about the next video project and the specific types of music that I need for different parts. And that searching process takes so much time because I need to go through literally hundreds of tracks to find the ones that fit that specific video or message that I am doing. But now, some of the music services have these versions that you can have a theme that you like, and then you can do a different version of it. That is, for example, what I used for the Pokemon video. If you pay close attention to the Pokemon video music, it is just one track throughout the entire 10 minutes. And my favorite version of that is the accordion version in it. And I've been listening to it just as like fun thing now because I love it so much, and I wanna kind of like incorporate it more into these live streams. Maybe in the beginning, if I have a timer countdown or something, just to generate like a theme music for this. I feel really passionately about music, so I get that this might seem like weird that I'm so excited about it, but it just makes the entire process of also creating videos more fun, because when I can get the tone of the music right for the storytelling, there's this it's weird for me to use this term because, like, obviously I'm not a music creator, I don't play any instruments, I can't sing whatsoever. I mean, people would probably pay me really good money to shut up even in a karaoke bar. But when I'm editing, like, I'm always thinking about the musicality of the edit, and it's not just about the music, it's not just about the script, it's also about the pace and the image and the movement within the image and the colors within the image. Like, I can't escape the synesthesia associations. Like, sometimes when the colors just feel right, it feels very satisfying to work on a video like that. I really like the mix of different shapes right now, so I think I'm kind of there. I'm somewhat worried about the sort of like overall blob shape on the upper top part of this tree. I mean, this blob. That's not good. I think this actually needs to be thicker, not thinner, on both sides. Usually I advise against like petting the line to have these sort of like very active areas, but here that's exactly where I'm trying to direct the attention. I think I'm just gonna use this dark green to fill in some kind of areas for different types of foliage. Unput is asking about the feature. Like, for example, different music licensing services use different types. I currently am subscribed to 3 different music licensing services, and the one on Epidemic Sound is probably the one that feels most beneficial for video generation currently, is that you can have a track that you select from their like library of licensable music for YouTube videos, and then there are these different like versions that you can add to it. Like you can choose from a list that they give. For example, more melancholic or more strings. And because the track is already, you can download it as different stems where you can only hear the strings or only hear like an electronic instrument in it. It will adjust the track in a way that fits that selection. And so when, for example, when you're trying to generate like, here's a section of a video where I'm describing the problem, or this is the challenge that we are facing, and you want to have this sort of like low voice intensity to the music that is not overpowering the speech and the message that you are delivering, like that can tone down automatically all of those other sounds. Like for example, if there's a vocal track or a percussion, like some kind of drum beat, usually it's very difficult to speak over drums. So I would have to go in manually and adjust that and download all the stems and create a track that way, which is doable, but it absolutely takes forever. And when you're listening to different tracks, it's like, because I'm not a musician, it's almost impossible for me to tell that like, am I able to adjust this track by removing or lowering the volume of some stems in a way that fits this purpose. But with the way, like, this is gonna start sounding like Epidemic Sound advertisement, which is not at all what I'm intending here. But the way that it works, like, most often it's able to turn the track into something that fits the purpose of the video in that part. And you can only do it on a website. You can do it in the Premiere plugin currently. But even so, like that whole like music selection and finding the music part takes so much time that like being able to do that, it's just it helps me focus more on the other part of video production. And like when you're making videos, you are wearing 20 different hats, and you could spend as much time as you want on any part of those. Like I could easily spend an entire week just fiddling with the music of a video. But at some point, if you want to get things done, at some point you have to be just like, okay, like I need to like not care about this aspect. Like it's good enough that I need to move on. Like that happens with everything. Like at some point the script just has to be, I'm getting the message across now. I can't keep editing the words and like finding different ways to express these ideas. Like I just need to start doing voiceover takes and seeing if it can convert into a rhythm that works for a video. Same with music. A musician would probably be able to explain this better, and they probably wouldn't need any kind of like automated features like those in the first place, because they would have no problem composing their own versions of like any kind of music stems themselves. And I think with YouTube, at least for me, like, because first and foremost, you have to make videos for yourself, because if you don't like looking at it, if you don't like listening to it, then it's pretty like unreasonable to assume that anybody else would like enjoy watching your video if you don't enjoy watching it yourself. But as I watch so much YouTube videos myself, especially art videos, and I listen to the music so much, like even if I'm subscribed to these like 3 different music licensing services and I listen to their music all the time, I hear the same tracks in different videos all the time. And I think what these versions do is that like they make it, at least to me, a little bit harder to recognize specific tracks that I have heard 1,000 times in a million different YouTube videos already. And that to me is only a good thing. It's really dark. I hope that it gets more interesting as light goes into it. Maybe there should be like a man-made element to it, I'm not quite sure. Maybe. Like a bridge. I'm just gonna doodle in a quick sketch of a bridge. Where would it lead? Like here? Does that make sense? Sorry for like geeking out about like the production stuff. It's just that I spend a lot of my time making paintings, but I spend way more time these days making videos about making paintings because it's just inherently a lot longer process. If I'm not making a commission for a client, I'm working on a video, like any specific different part about it. And making YouTube videos about art, it's one of those things that like you have to get excited about the video production process, or otherwise it's just, I love this, but at the same time I acknowledge that like this would be too much work if I wasn't passionate about it, if I wasn't excited about what I'm making and the process of making it. I'm inverting this so that I can actually see what I'm doing. I really hate it when like I have handrails in silhouette that are almost in perfect perspective. I'm just gonna do something that I would never appreciate in real life and just have one side handrail, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I would hate this because I'm afraid of heights and falling. Maybe something like that. I'm trying really hard not to kind of draw a direct arrow into the corner of the painting. Just have a little bit of like, it's a tight balance. I'm already 30 minutes in and I'm really happy with the silhouette. And the silhouette is super important, but I am aware that it looks like I have pretty much nothing here. Also, I totally didn't use an eraser there, but I used a brush, which is terrible. Kride is saying, hello Mikko, I enjoyed the video you were talking about. It would be interesting to see more of those based on different video game environments created with your style. I think it would be also interesting to kind of like switch my style to kind of fit the art style of different games whenever that's possible, but like I'm just one person. Like I'm pretty used to changing my style in my professional work. But these days, I kind of know what I like, so I would probably choose project more based on that. Also, if you have like any kind of like game environment ideas like those that you think would be cool, like for example a game where a new area or zone would add a lot to the game itself, or be an interesting design challenge, or just basically if a game would benefit from like having DLC, or it has a very bland looking environment that you think would require a complete overhaul to look interesting, then like please let me know, because I think those would be interesting challenges. It's just like those ideas don't come to me that often, so please keep me informed if you have any ideas like those. What? Is this not a clipping mask? No. Just wanna keep that shape language consistent here. Oh no, I think I painted all of these leaves on the sky itself. That's terrible. Luckily, they're mostly in clusters. I just got way too carried away with the whole music talk. With this brush, if I press really lightly, since this is on the same layer, I can kind of blend in and mix that color with the sky. Just to get a little bit deeper hue variety. Now I'm color picking it. And just creating a kind of a darker shade to the top half. I'm pressing really lightly, so even though YouTube is probably compressing this, like that means that that subtle texture is there in different parts of the sky. I wanna lightly press in and find different cloud shapes. Maybe just start out very carefully. The source of this brush has that kind of like a almost watercolor looking feathered edge. So it's great for those clouds that aren't like super hard in shapes. You can always get harder shapes with any brush by going a bit smaller in scale. But whenever you want to have those sort of like big areas that give that kind of like more fluffy feeling, then just like have a bigger brush and don't be afraid to use the source of the brush if it supports it. This really goes for like any brush that you might be using, but always be aware of like what the source of your brush is, like what that shape is. Because if you don't know what the shape is, then like 0 times out of 100, you will have ideas where you think that like, okay, here the source shape could do some of that heavy lifting for me. Somehow with the current silhouette, I am thinking a hollowed out treehouse tree where the little forest creatures live in. Feel free. Yeah. It's not a bad idea. Anpul is saying, okay, that's smart. I was worried you were talking about the AI music. I can imagine how helpful that is. It sounds perfect for video editing. Well, I think there are like different levels to it, because I'm sure that there is like some kind of algorithm and AI being used to kind of balance out the different levels. Like there's a whole process of sound mixing that probably happens on top of the different stems being edited, and like I absolutely cannot claim that I have any idea what is happening behind the scenes there, but a lot of those processes probably like use the existing track, and then I assume that there is some kind of an algorithm that controls it. Just the same way, for example, if I do a thumbnail of this piece, for example, and it's not exactly the aspect ratio of the thumbnail piece, like in those cases, I might do like an expansion, and that is usually just like color mush on both sides, but I'm sure that there is like some generative qualities in those as well. And this is a feature that has been in Photoshop like ever since like they did the healing brush tool. It's just that it wasn't called generative stuff back then, but I don't know. It's really difficult once you start kind of like splitting hairs. What is AI and what is not? It would be kind of handy if there was some kind of label that you could trust, like almost like organic vegetables, like what is there, like human-made art and human-made music, that I could just see it and always trust that it has been done by a person. That would be handy. I saw some like author online say that like, I can't believe that I these days have to ask for proof that cover illustration that I commissioned, I have to ask for proof that the artist actually painted it. To which I thought that like, okay, I am in kind of like a rare position where I have the means to very easily kind of like show, like for example through live stream, that I painted the painting that I am painting. But how many artists have that? Also, is that like a fair thing, a burden to put on normal artists, that they all need to have like video production devices and overhead like C-stands that can film their entire thing? Like all of this equipment that I have to be in the position where I can shoot these videos at all, like that's a lot of money that not everybody can afford to invest in, and nor should they if they are not making YouTube videos to shoot their process. I have no answers to this. I have just like these complicated moral dilemmas to present, that at the same time I fully understand why a writer who is like commissioning a cover piece would want to have proof, because so many writers are like publicly being cancelled for using AI images in their book covers. But on some level, I feel like it's a bit I don't know, like a controversial solution to assume that everybody can afford to produce and keep and maintain and be able to show like video footage of a process like this. Every time I have a little bit of like clouds and even like light shadows on those clouds, that always brings in so much mood that I have a much clearer view on like where to take the painting from there. It's a small thing, but it really does help in figuring out where the painting is going. Hello everyone, happy end of the year. I like the new fractal simulation thing you made. It's so mesmerizing, my mind can't even decide what to focus on. I tried really hard to make it as slow as possible so that it wouldn't be too distracting. But yeah, it's not fully done yet. And speaking of AI, like this is based on the code that I made for the previous flower simulation that I made, but I can't like input like any of my own custom graphics into that. So I used Claude to create this system where I can paint my own graphics. So all of these leaves I have actually done in Procreate, and all of the petals, like those particle effects, and all of those flowers and the cores, I painted in Procreate. And I have this sprite sheet that has small squares, and that creates the PNGs for all of the things that you see here. But I wasn't like, I'm not smart enough to create that kind of like code input system, so Claude basically made that like entire like input the sprite sheet over here logic into the previous code that I made for the previous flower simulation. That looks like it's quite similar, but honestly the whole texture graphic thing, I tried to figure it out and I just couldn't. But I worked on this like 3 days. 3 days. And whenever something goes wrong, it's like almost impossible for me to tell what is like breaking the whole system. So like simple things that people would be able to probably like do in minutes, like literally take me days. And there is still one problem that like sometimes, I probably shouldn't say this because now you will all be paying attention to this, but it used to be a lot worse, that sometimes the leaves just like snap out of view and disappear. And I fixed this pretty much like 2 days. And I was able to stop most of them from happening, but I wasn't able to fix it completely. Like I said, sometimes you just have to say that a thing is good enough and then move on. But I like learning new things, so even though it's frustrating, like it is super rewarding whenever I make like a little bit of progress and I'm able to move forward with those elements. Just getting the textures to kind of like rotate and like expand and then slow down, almost as if like air pressure is slowing them down. Like that part, when I got it working, like it felt so exciting that it kind of like propelled me through the rest of the process. I just like the way that it looks, mostly. I'm gonna try to do that again. I'm going to have this move upwards a bit, like this. I was just wondering if we already had the sun bear brush in the first snowy live stream. Oh my god. Are you right? I'm gonna check this. I mean, you might be right. I might be repeating the same brush. It's too late. It's too late. It is what it is. I am going by like a copy of the brush set order. Oh dear. It's still a painting. I'm gonna do it anyway. Unput is saying, do you ever work from reference when you're painting for... Do you ever work from reference when you're painting for fun or stream? Or maybe client work? Yes, to all of those questions, but I will elaborate on that. I find as a beginner, I struggle to get anything made without reference. At least for inspiration. Of course you need reference. This is not something that you will like grow out of. Like it sounds like you're making it sound like you don't have a skill that you need to practice to have eventually. You will always need reference when you're painting anything that you haven't painted before. If you have seen my channel, I have painted thousands and thousands of trees for environments. I don't need reference for that anymore. But for example, if there was like a really unique looking shaped tree that I want to learn, I will look up reference and learn the language of that, like the anatomy of that tree, because every tree species has its own like rhythm, how it works basically. And before you learn that, what would you be able to accomplish at all without a reference? You would have nothing to paint basically. That's why you need it. So like this entire like assumption that in some world, in some scenario, you would be able to paint something that you don't know how it works, what the anatomy of that like tree species or like creature species is, like it's ridiculous. Like to me it's like completely wrong starting point to painting or learning art at all. And you won't learn anything if you don't have the reference. The best way to learn to paint trees is to go outside and paint trees. The second best way to learn to paint trees is go outside, take a video of the tree that you want to paint and walk around it and have different like footage from different angles and then do a drawing based on that. The third best way to learn to draw trees is to go outside, take pictures yourself, look at the tree and look at the picture that you just took and notice the difference between the two. Because I promise you, no matter how expensive your camera is, the colors are not going to be the same. The shadows are not going to be the same as the tree right in front of you. So notice those differences and make notes, and then you can use the photo as a reference. But it's only the third best way. I don't know why I'm looking at the microphone when I'm talking to you. It's weird. I need to get it on the other side because I am constantly trying to move around the microphone to see the chat at all. It's not working. I really like this combination of light and dark. I think it's giving an interesting look to this whole scene. Just because currently I don't have a reference doesn't mean I didn't use million reference pieces before to learn the skills that I am using currently. Like maybe I'm acquiring new skills on, like, for example, how to combine two different like organic silhouettes, because that seems to be like the main visual hook here. But currently I am not learning how to paint this type of a tree. That is a skill that I already have. I'm just trying to decide like how to leave most of this tree in shadow to just keep that mysterious feel to it. I think the shadow is also kind of describing perspective, so that the sun is shining from there above and we are looking mostly below it. That's why we see so little of this sunlight. But to make this work, I think we also need to have maybe one of these gray tones could work as like an ambient light from the sky. Actually, that looks quite good already. I'm just gonna mix it with the existing color on the bark. I don't know if that like answered your question at all about reference. But maybe there was like a deeper question behind it. Like maybe if that didn't answer your question, please elaborate what I missed about the whole question. Because to me the whole question sounds so absurd. And I hear this a lot. That's why I'm so passionate about it, that like, because a lot of artists that are, especially artists that are just starting out, they think that you're supposed to somehow magically gain this knowledge out of thin air or like looking at some tutorials, but like you can't learn to paint things from memory if you never put those things into that memory in the first place. Also, the live streams, there are tons of live streams that I did this year on this channel that are on the membership side now, where I did a selection of like different random like Google Street View views, and those views were basically the reference point for those paintings. And if you go into Google Street View, you will like really quickly realize that those aren't like amazing or impressive photographs. So that was kind of the whole idea, that the reference needs to look worse than what you come out with using that reference by changing the lighting, arranging the composition in a way that it turns into a painting, and having a composition in the first place, because the street views themselves are 360 photographs, so there is no composition. Like, it's something that you have to make yourself for those. I'm gonna try and see if I can like use some of these for like ground grass type of thing, because this would be lower. Let me think. This would be lower, so it's still above horizon, but if it goes uphill, then we can see it. That way I can have the permission to put some light on this slope up here, and maybe here as well, but it's getting like more and more like side silhouette of grass on this slope. Okay, just thinking it out loud made it make somewhat more sense to me. And then maybe more cooler desaturated versions up here. Maybe this could still be rock that the tree is growing on. I'm mixing these two colors together on the canvas, just to try to find the right tone for it. Now I think the rock also needs like a light side. I don't know why, but there's something interesting about the shape language of the rock being almost the same as the tree. Almost as if it's like fossilized tree material. Is it Yume or Journée or something like that, who's saying, just wanted to let you know you've been an inspiration for me to get better at environment art. Thank you, that's very kind of you. Doing environments like this is just so necessary for my mental health during this time of the year, because outside there has been this pretty intense blizzard for 2 days. Now it's sunny and white, but yesterday I was out running with Vivi and we were running in this like complete blizzard, like zero visibility. The snow was just like blasting in my face. And to Vivi's credit, she ran like half of the distance with me, and then I brought her in here, and then I finished like my sprints outside without her. But damn, that's rough weather. Color picking this and then just changing the base of some of these foliage masses so it's not all the same. But I want to keep some of them kind of in the shadow. I don't know why. I'm just going based on feel. I feel like there's something about the quality of this light that if I go overboard and add too much light everywhere, it will kind of lose its meaning very quickly. I'm gonna increase the canvas size at this point because I think I'm pretty confident in where this is going. Whoop. I do understand your answer. I didn't mean to make it sound like I thought I would ever outgrow learning and studying. I guess I was more curious how you use reference because of all your experience. And I saw your YouTube video using the random Google Street View for reference. I started doing that and it was so much fun. Yes, I think it's a good challenge. I said myself, like, I don't recommend that everybody does this, by the way. I'm just saying, like, what I did. Like when I was doing the random Google Street View, I forgot the name of that website. We're getting it. Kaunis laulu oli kyllä. Kiitos. I didn't want to interrupt Vivi when she's responding to a fire truck by howling. It's so cute. I think it was called Map Crunch. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm still looking at the microphone. It's very distracting. I'm sorry. So in Map Crunch, when you jump to a random Google Street View, you can jump back, like you have the previous jumps saved, almost like a playlist that you can jump back to. So if you thought that the previous one was better, you can just easily go back to it. But I really quickly noticed once I found the website that like I could just go on forever here and I would get nothing done because I would just like keep looking for better and better map areas to jump to use as reference. And then I'm basically looking for a painting. I'm not like kind of challenging my design thinking anymore. So I made this rule for myself, and I'm not saying that like you should do this, because it does make it harder, is that I limited myself to 5 different jumps so that I can jump to 5 different locations, and after that I have to choose like one of those 5. So if it's like 5 different back alleys or like ugly parts of a beach somewhere in the middle of nowhere, that I would have to like just choose one of those places to start the painting from. And I think it made it kind of more interesting for myself as a design challenge, because some of those places, for example, that like one very bland looking gray road in the middle of some jungle, like it definitely wasn't oozing with some kind of painting potential, but I think it was one of the more interesting design challenges to kind of like group the different details into rhythms that made sense in the painting. But you were also asking how I use reference. Like for example, I've been doing these head practice sessions quite a lot this year. For that, I have this 3D model application on phone that has the planes of the head model, 3D model, and I can set different light directions to that head. So I can always just like open it up, rotate the head into a different orientation. There's also like I think 3 different detail levels to planes of the head in that application. I can set a different direction for the light sources, and then I do those as just as practice. Like they're not paintings that you like see on my Instagram feed, because I am practicing drawing heads again. Ever since I stopped making games full time, I kind of stopped doing characters, because the process of doing characters for games is something that I really don't enjoy, because it's not just the character design and the writing aspect of it, it's the whole production process and how to get a certain looking character into the production. Like that part I didn't like, and I don't want to do it as work anymore. But prior to that, I did do a lot of character designs. That's how I started painting, like especially digital painting in the first place. And before that, I used watercolors and Copic markers, and I was always doing just characters. That was the only subject that I painted ever. So I did love it, but I didn't know what that process would actually be in like a professional production environment. And once I figured out that this is not something that I want to spend my life doing anymore, I stopped. Because you get the kind of commissions that you make. If you do a lot of environment paintings online, people will commission you to do environment designs. But a part of me also misses that like whole process of creating characters and designing clothes for them that I always felt like was so much fun that I kind of want to have that back in my life, just as a fun thing, not as a work thing. So that's why I started doing the planes of the head exercises again. And I am so rusty with that stuff. And especially now that I'm not doing like concept design, but like I'm trying to do illustrations based on those ideas. I feel like the technical skill level that I need to reach is so much higher than I ever got in that field in the first place. So I think there's still tons of things for me to learn when it comes to just painting people. Next year, I think it would be fun to learn to paint hands better, because I feel like that's one area that I'm always complaining about, that I can't do it, and I don't like complaining about things that I'm not actively practicing, so next year I wanna do something about it. Like, I'm definitely like not there yet with the heads that I am drawing. But maybe at some point I can move on to drawing hands, even if it's just variety, because I also believe that with practice you always have to be mindful of like just how consuming it can be, and all practice is this balance between doing things that you feel are challenging and develop your art skills, and also fun, the skills or the projects that are kind of like feeding your passion and enthusiasm to making art in the first place, the things that kind of keep you going. And if you misjudge the balance in either direction, you are not developing as an artist, because you are not creating enough art. Like sometimes that just means that like you start a live stream and you start painting a tree because you know you can paint trees and you love painting trees and you love playing with colors and like finding different kinds of moods and scenarios with those colors. Like sometimes that is practicing your art skills, even if it directly doesn't contribute to like my other goal of like practicing planes of the head. Like it still keeps me within this loop of telling myself that like I'm a creative person, I'm an artist, and artists paint, and that's what I do. Like sometimes it's just important to keep up the habit, and if every time when you pick up a brush to paint or a pencil to draw, if every time feels like it's just like one more practice session that leaves you feeling defeated, you're eventually just going to stop. And then you 100% don't get anywhere. I really wasn't expecting this level of energy in the playlist. Map Crunch. Yes, that's the website. Good morning from the Netherlands. Good morning, Netherlands. I'm sure it's a lot warmer there. Or I don't know, like, sometimes when you're places that are close to the sea, like just the humidity can make it feel like even colder than a snowy day here in Finland. I think I need like some distant hills. I'm just gonna try this. Let's see. Wrong layer. I think it's gonna be important for this bridge to read at all to have some kind of like a background card for it to read. I could probably lift up those clouds a bit to make this work. Degrees Celsius in Netherlands right now. That sounds warm. Unput is saying the last map crunch study I did was empty dusty grey field and some clouds. That does sound challenging. I think this hill could be maybe the green base, but it still needs like a bluish shadow. I'll try and find that. Maybe this. Sometimes when you're working with elements that are this far off in the distance, the color differences can be like incredibly subtle and they will still read quite well. But I recommend like thinking that where do you put that color difference? Like for example here, if I paint in these sort of like shadowy slopes on the other side, it's just reinforcing the direction of light. And that's the entire mood of the piece. think Vivi is having a nightmare. Or some very exciting dream. It's hard to tell. Let's hope it's something positive. I don't know if you're supposed to do this to dogs. It might be a bad thing, but like sometimes when she sounds very distressed in her sleep, I do sometimes wake her up to let her know everything is okay. It's probably not necessary or good. One thing that I could probably do with the flower system that I might be able to do myself because I know how it's structured is that when the gradients change, that it wouldn't like shift between the different colors, but that the gradient block would just like move upwards and be replaced by new gradients from the bottom. So that way I could avoid some of those like occasional like ugly color combinations that happen when, for example, pink changes into black or yellow gradient part. How are we doing on time? Like almost 1.5 hours. I think the idea is kind of slowly forming there, but I do still have a lot to do. I don't know what I'm doing here, but I just kind of want it to be almost like a completely fused built element in here, so it's not disturbing the tree shape. You don't learn just shapes, you also learn colors. Like sometimes when you know a color that you're looking for, like you can memorize that, like, okay, I want to have this effect and I want it to have that impact with this other kind of shadow. Like you do eventually start remembering locations for those colors that you are searching for. Of course, you always have to kind of like put that into the context of your painting and what it needs. It's almost like palettes, but in your brain, if that makes sense. I don't think it makes sense. I don't know a better way to explain it either. I like that you want to activate your design mind. I think it's kind of a thing that comes from just doing years and years of concept art. Not just as work, but to become a concept artist, like you of course need to have as many years practicing that skill And to practice that skill, you do need to like take on design challenges yourself, and you don't really end up doing it if you don't like the process. So problem solving like different design elements to me is really a big part of what I find interesting and fun about making art. And truthfully, that design part is 100% the reason why I do so much digital art. Because if I just like the process of painting, and I do, but if that was the only part about it that I liked, then I would be using oil paints 100%. I just think nothing comes close to the way that oil colors look in physical form. Nothing else like has that sort of like deep color that like absorbs light and bounces it back through different layers. Like for example, like acrylics, like they just physically don't have the properties that would ever be able to do that. Like no matter how good of a painter you are, like it's just the physical properties of different paints like don't allow for that to happen. And I do like painting with oils, but the reason why I make so many like digital paintings is that like it's not only easier, but it is a whole lot faster, because I don't have to wait a week for a layer to dry. I can just generate an idea, and I don't have to worry about like ruining the canvas or ruining the materials or waiting for anything. Because here, when I'm doing design work digitally, like I can truly just focus on the design work, and the painting is almost just like when you're writing a story, you're focusing on the story, you're not focusing on how do I write the words. You just get absorbed into the design process in a different way. But when you're painting with oils, and this is something that I like about oils, like it's not a bad quality about them, but you do have to constantly be aware of the material and how to use the material for the things that you're not just doing now, but if you have plans for like where you want to take the painting next week in a session, you have to prepare for that every step of the way. But with a digital painting, if I'm, for example, designing an environment and I decide that like I like this house shape, but I want to change that rooftop color, or I want to change the house location to the other side of the painting, it can be done in less than 2 minutes. And if it's serving the design process, then I end up with a better design, because it's not held back by the amount of time that it takes to like just get it done. just want to make sure that the stream is working, because it's so scary to see sometimes that it's just a black screen. I can see the grass blades that I just made, which is good. But this YouTube studio is completely stuck for some reason. This looks like almost like I'm doing nothing currently, but I just want there to be hue variety in this patch of grass, like especially in areas where it would be exposed to light for a longer duration of and look different. So if you're an oil painter and know nothing about design thinking and storytelling, but you want to learn it, where do you start? Well, I think thumbnailing is a really good skill. When I was in art school, that art school was for oil painting, and we would do a lot of like small pencil sketches of the paintings before we even start painting, because you want to have the idea that is worth the time that you end up putting to it. And I think that it has kind of like carried through to my digital painting a lot, that like I can go through like several different like silhouette ideas and just this sort of like easy blobbing. I think a really important skill that is surprisingly hard to learn is to be able to put in work and care into something that you end up scrapping or just like creating versions. I think it's really hard to, even as a concept art teacher, I find it really hard to teach the skill of doing different versions to find the right one. I think a lot of students have this idea that like once they are working on it something, and especially if it has a time limit, like all of their schoolwork does have a time limit, it's very common that like they don't do versions at all. And I can make them do like a thumbnail exercise and explain the importance of the thumbnail exercise, but they don't really feel the benefit in digital art the same way that if you're an oil painter and you end up spending a lot of time on the wrong idea, that at some point you come back to your painting and then you notice that like overnight while you were sleeping, the painting has died. Like there's nothing you can do to make it exciting again. Like the idea that you were excited about, it's just not there anymore. Like you can't even understand what was good about it at any point of the process. It's just whatever was there is gone. So you very quickly learn how important it is to find the idea that will carry you through to those moments when you just can't find the right color, or the color combination with the shadows is not creating that mood that you are trying to create. Something is frustrating, like you might do an accidental brushstroke in the wrong section and then you have to spend a lot of time fixing it. That sort of stuff happens all the time. But if you believe in your idea, then you don't think that it's too much work. But if you come back to your painting and you just notice that like your belief in the work being worth it in the end is just not there anymore, there's not that much you can do about it. You can do like drastic changes to your painting and hope that they will kind of like reignite that passion to work on it. But nothing is a guarantee, like you're not guaranteed to get there even with that type of work. In the recent few days, I have found out that there is this music genre called mallcore. And this is that genre. Like 80s shopping mall music. I'm again like setting myself up for so much rock texturing, which is not my favorite thing in the world, I have to confess. And I am not going to do this all in this stream, just enough so that the visual impact is kind of like understandable. Yeah, like painting rock texture is just not something that often contributes that much to the mood of a piece. So if there would be like an area where I would use like a pre-made brush to lessen the workload, I think it would be either like brick walls, because I've done a brick wall hand painted so many different times, and I honestly can't with a good conscience say that hand painting them made those paintings better, because at some point you just want to like, I want to have that same brick texture. There's no way to customize it for this specific painting. And here, rock texture is definitely part of the storytelling in the upper part of the image, but here, where I probably need to put in a lot more work into creating that texture, it's a lot of work in an area that is not that important to the storytelling. But up here, where it's almost like transforming into the tree, I think here it's more interesting also, because I feel like I'm doing work that has a purpose. I don't know if that makes sense. It's all rock in the end. I think there are slightly too many layers for me to be efficient. And I think that does vary. Like sometimes in a live stream, I do like working with less layers just because I'm trying to also produce some speech out of my mouth hole, and having too many things to think about at the same time, it just gets too confusing for me really easily. So having a painting just has just few layers always feels a lot easier to me in live streams. But when I'm just painting by myself, for example, when I'm doing the details or like rendering textures or something like that, then it's easier to keep tabs on like multiple different layers in different parts of the painting, just because I just have that extra accessible memory in my head for those sort of things. But because it's not necessary for the painting's like success in the bigger picture, like that information is usually the first to go whenever I'm having a little bit of trouble getting a painting done in a live stream situation. Because all of the layer and like rendering texture things, like I can always sort out those later. That's not a problem. But if the design is not coming together, then I really need to drop everything to focus on just that. I'm doing the hue change trick by changing the hue a little bit and then setting it as a clipping mask and then masking it with black and then just slapping in few dots where that previous layer can come through. And it's just adding a little bit of hue variety to this tile texture that took time to make, and I'm not sure if it was a good use of that time in this context. Greetings from Philippines. Greetings back to Philippines. I really like this sort of like chill, classy, almost bossa nova type music that makes me feel like I'm on an expensive cruise ship. Can't believe I accidentally used the same brush that I have already done in one of these live streams. And here I thought that like maybe I will just entirely skip the brush order logic and just paint something quick and fun. And then I thought like, no, I have so many brushes in the oil painting set to go through before I can get all of the live streams done that I need to kind of keep chipping away at this mountain. And then I use the same brush that I have already used. Good job, Mikko. I really like working with this sort of like dappled light. It's something that I will just never get tired of. It's so fun and satisfying once it starts working. But it can be very intimidating and scary when it doesn't. But with digital painting, it's just one of those things where you can rest easy that like a painting is never ruined. You can just keep fiddling around with it until it starts working, and I recommend that you do, because like that's where you learn all of the important stuff. I've seen some like amazing recoveries from painting mistakes that some people also do with oils. But because the school that I went to, like we were taught to use very like heavy volume of oils most of the time. So it was really difficult to fix any mistakes where you have like kind of like thick layers of like caked paint to reorganize. Who's watching with more than 80% of battery left? Also funny that you're assuming that everybody's watching on their phones. Recently, I've been watching more and more YouTube on my computer screen or on TV. Because I've noticed that when I'm on computer and I'm watching YouTube, I never go into the shorts. And what I really dislike about YouTube app these days on the phone is that it so heavily pushes shorts. And more, I've gotten kind of like tired of the battle for my own like attention, because I don't want to be dragged into this like endless content loop of like 5-10 second clips of somebody doing something, and then dogs, and then some celebrity did something, and then an old guy does a backflip. It's just like this nonsense that my brain is not equipped to resist the temptation of like just spinning the wheel and hoping that like something interesting will happen next. I appreciate everybody else who has the kind of like self-control that you can just say no to that. But to me, I've noticed that more and more like I watch now YouTube more on my TV and computer, just because like that way I can watch the actual channels that I care about, and I can watch with intent, that like I can decide that like now this is the thing that I want to watch from my subscribe feed, and not be kind of sidelined into something where my time is just like absolutely stolen away from me. And my work life is just always like a constant battle for time, so it matters more and more to me. But like also more like on an emotional level, I just feel very like aggressive when I feel that like short videos are just addictively looping me into like bad watching habits. And every time that I exit like a YouTube Shorts feed or Instagram Reels feed, I'm never like satisfied. Like that feeling is always the same. Like I can't believe that I let myself do that for that amount of time, that I could have been just like maybe falling asleep or watching a tutorial on how to use a feature in After Effects or something, or learn something useful, or even paint. Almost like nobody that I watch on YouTube is like actively doing YouTube Shorts. Like they're all the kind of content creators, and maybe this is just because I'm old, I don't know. Like they're all long form content producers. So in the Shorts feed, there's nothing that would make me feel like I'm glad that I spent that time there so that I saw this. Like my first and foremost like overwhelming feeling whenever I exit the Shorts feed is just like I just feel like my time was stolen for some complete nonsense that I absolutely do not care about at all. And I'm in no way like trying to shame anybody who like likes watching shorts. Like you do you. Like if that's your thing and you enjoy it, absolutely go for it. But next year I want to be like more mindful of my time when it comes to this stuff, and like just changing my viewing habits to more PC and TV. I found that like I'm much happier about the way that I spend my time. Okay, it's not a disaster. I really don't have any negative feelings about this horizontal flip, which is a relief. But I'm gonna make some quick notes for composition, like here. I wanna balance it out with some branches that are countering that like one diagonal direction. Maybe also have some kind of like hanging things here that could also introduce more rhythm and shape language variety. In fact, I could do the same thing here as well. Maybe in between some of these elements, since it's such an old tree. I'm pretty happy with that. Maybe there could be like one more layer here. Just to introduce some more depth. So this is my notes for what to do. I think the cliff could also use another edge. Here. Just to play more into that idea that the structure is almost completely hidden here. Some of these trees could be smaller and bring more rhythm to that area, so they could be more like this and outward and more empty space here. Okay, and then as one more check mark point, I need to add more hue and color variety to this pathway on both sides to make it interesting. And I think that's the painting. Yep. And now gonna flip it horizontally again. And then just use this layer as my checklist. One way to make the checklist more visible is to add a clipping mask to it and then add a crazy color to that clipping mask. So whenever you switch it on, you can get reminded like, oh, here's another task list item that I need to work out. I'm gonna start with this. Somebody is asking, coded 1827, how many inches is it? Like, I'm not gonna give that kind of information to strangers. That is private information that I share with very special people. At least buy me a drink first. No, it was about my TV size. Oh, I have no idea. Every time that we have increased the size of TV, I think I've always had to kind of do this entire battle with my boyfriend to get a bigger TV, because he always feels like the one that we previously had was like already like definitely big enough. here on the YouTube shorts. I'm glad that I'm not just an old person yelling at the clouds here. I know that in some way I am, but I don't think that YouTube shorts are in any way replacing what I like about watching the YouTube videos that I like to watch. Like, it just feels like it's two completely different things. I'm gonna set this in a lower opacity so that I can actually see what I'm doing. Just ran out of music completely, so I'm gonna go into the music and maybe find another playlist. It was pretty good. There's a situation that is happening on my right. Vivi got the ball stuck underneath furniture. Sometimes she does this for attention, but she's looking very distressed and I'm finding it really hard to concentrate. I might have to take a minute to get it out there and put it on a table, because if I just go and get it, she will put it there again. I just see that she's trying to do it, but she's also staring at me, trying to get me to go there. Come on. Usually the ball is in the toy bin, so she's not able to do that. There are specific toys that are for her to play by herself, and then there are ones that are meant for interactive playtime with me. Please don't feel bad for her, she's doing this 100% on purpose, because she knows that this is a way for her to get my attention, and she does have her own toys as well. It's just she likes creating this drama. There is a button on YouTube Shorts when you are using the phone that says that show fewer YouTube shorts, and I feel like when I'm on the phone app, I'm always pressing that, and the number of shorts that it's still displaying to me next time that I open the app, it's always the same. I have seen no impact on the amount of shorts that YouTube is showing me before or after pressing that button. I don't think it actually does anything. I should have treats with me. Sometimes I have treats with me, even just in case there was a situation with the dog, so that I can distract her. But I forgot the treats because I was having such a hectic time starting this stream. Of course, on Instagram, I'm having the same problem that like when I open Instagram just to look at some art or to post my own artwork, like I get sucked into endless dog videos. And I'm like not strong enough to resist the temptation to watch cute dogs, and the next videos might be even cuter. There might be even more dogs. So it just goes into this like endless loop. But even for that, I think I found like some kind of a solution in that I am using Instagram more and more on PC these days. And I don't think I don't know if there is that kind of like a feed loop. At least the way that I use it on PC, like I find it very easy to just like focus on replying to people commenting on my work and watching art. I think Reels might not have sound on there. Or it's just that like I don't have sound on Instagram when I view it through PC. In either case, like when I'm using Instagram on PC, I don't end up in these sort of like endless content holes. And I can actually interact with people because that's why I'm there, to reply to comments. And it's easier to write on a proper keyboard faster. Okay, I'm gonna go and solve this dog problem. I'm also gonna get a little bit more coffee at the same time. I'm gonna be away for a minute, then I will be back. I will give her some kibbles so that she will stop with the ball. I'm sorry. Back in a minute. Okay. Okay, my apologies. Now I have more coffee. The ball has been recovered, and I have emergency kibbles to distract the beast so that she doesn't start begging for the ball back. Now she's staring at me because of the kibbles. It's a lesser evil. It's hard to describe this because I've had a dog before Bibi. When I was younger, I had a Newfoundland dog, and he did like playing fetch. But with Bibi, with a corgi, like she has this like almost like emergency for playtime sometimes. It's hard to describe, but it doesn't sound like things are all right when she's in that state. I'm so glad that I have some coffee now. I was supposed to change the shape of this tree, because like now the tree is repeating this twisting shape, the cliffside is repeating the same twisting shape, but it makes no sense for this plant right here to be doing that same thing as well. So that's why I'm choosing these two elements, and I'm squeezing them and twisting this a little bit. To have a conversation with that kind of like sloping look of that area, that is almost like answering the slope with a different type of a shape. And then I had a note here for another layer to add more depth. So I think that's all of the notes that I made for the composition. So right now I can just turn off the note layer. I'm gonna leave the pink clipping mask there, just so that I know that that is a useless layer, because I would never do a pink clipping mask to anything except for visibility. I think my kibble treat plot worked, because now Vivi is right behind me, like right next to this chair. She has completely forgotten the whole ball incident. I think this is a pretty common thing with, like, if you happen to have a cute dog, they know that they are cute, and they get their, like, way every time when they just put enough of a pressure campaign on whatever you're doing. And she knows that, like, she will get her way. Like, I will fall under pressure. Like, I will absolutely fold if she just keeps staring at me long enough or making those specific sounds that makes her sound like very distressed for something completely that I know is frivolous. I just can't help myself. And she knows it. And I don't think that would happen with, like, a big dog. When I say that Vivi is my boss, like, it's not just a joke, like, she really does run my entire life. I think this one face is a little bit too saturated for my taste. I'm gonna find a color that can kind of chip away some of that saturation. Even when you're doing a subject that you have done before, like, it still doesn't make the painting process easy. I think this is a pretty difficult design process for me to figure out all these 3 different elements in like one painting and in one composition, that it is in a balance, that they don't kind of compete with each other. Like, it's not easy. So when you have done enough paintings and learned like one subject from reference, you just keep inventing new ways to challenge yourself with that subject. And if it wasn't difficult, I don't think painting would be that interesting. If I could just press a button and have all of this done for me, like, that would get rid of the entire fun part of painting for me. And I kind of feel sad for younger generation, because, like, there are some skills that they will feel like is done for them in a way that they will never get to experience the fun of learning some things. And not that, like, they need to learn absolutely everything anyway. It's just times are changing, I guess. But because painting is difficult, that's why it's fun. Because creative process, like, in any form, like, for example, when it comes to writing, like, because it's difficult to write a script, that's why it's so much, like, fun when it starts working. like this part where I can see that it's kind of very slowly coming together. I think that is so rewarding to me. I'm going to copy this tile part and do the thing that is like making the tiling thing a little bit easier. But honestly, if you want to do something like this with a brush, I'm not gonna call you out on this, because who thinks this is fun? Like, no, nobody. I just want to have some sort of like texture to build hue variety on the bridge that is monotonous, and it really doesn't even matter what creates that texture. It just needs to be like a density of brushstrokes. And since it's a man-made object, like a texture like this can achieve that, maybe. So I'm alpha locking this and I'm blurring those stripes into it. And now I'm gonna do a safety net version up there in case this doesn't work out. It might not. And I'm setting this as a clipping mask to the bridge itself. And now I am just rotating it. So I don't want it to be horizontal, I want it to be vertical. And not just vertical, I want it to be kind of like fanning out like this. Over the length of the bridge. I have a little bit of bigger detail on the left side to implicate scale. That's it. It's not fancy, but it works just well enough for what I needed to do. And now I'm gonna just do a less bright version with a hue difference, and then just erase parts of it to create more of that visual variety. Then adding this gradient to kind of like bake it into the rest of the painting. And maybe I could use that same thing for the top of the bridge as well. So I'm setting this as a clipping mask to the top side of the bridge, and then just transfer forming it into place. I'm really just looking for good enough to be like variety in here. And now this bridge that would probably be my least favorite thing to paint, like right after stairs. It's somehow like quite close to already something that I can use. I think I had notes for like green parts on this bridge, so I'm gonna do that next, but I'm not gonna do it on a clipping mask layer. I'm gonna start with something that maybe is quite desaturated and dark. Do you guys have any plans for New Year's? What are you all doing? I'm gonna go and be a dog sitter. Vivi is fine with rockets, but my other man has 3 dogs, and one of them is just one, so he's not used to New Year's rockets. And now he lives in an area where there are going to be more, so we probably like can't go out in a bar somewhere, so I'm just gonna be there as emotional support for the dog in case he starts reacting to them. I'm very lucky that like Vivi doesn't react to the explosions. I completely forgot what I was doing. I was doing this. My brain is just sometimes like so easily distracted. I mean, it can be just like blinking light and I will absolutely forget what I was doing with my life and who am I and what are my priorities in life. Melivedontem on Melived on the moon. Maybe that's how you say it. Is saying, I'll be sitting in the windowless hallway with a pile of blankets and pillows with my husband and our fur babies. Yes. It does help that there are 3 dogs, so maybe they can be... I'm hoping that they can be a little bit more emotional support for one another. Or just Christine. Okay, that's a lot easier for me. Somebody is saying, I do hate fireworks and wish I had loop earplugs, not available in Indonesia, of course. Plus we will be treated to very loud live music from multiple directions. Wow. this type of texture work is somehow like very therapeutic. It's very satisfying once the texture starts having that kind of build up that it starts working. But it can be so subtle that I know that in a live stream it might be a bad area for me to focus on, because the changes are like so minor that it might be difficult to even notice. Like right now I'm adding more shadow to this side, so I'm creating one more layer mask and I'm setting this as a clipping mask, and then on the layer mask I'm going in with white and painting in here those shadows. Basically it's just a mess, but it's making the entire area have a little bit more character. If you're just painting for social media, then this is the type of stuff that I probably wouldn't recommend as useful way to spend time. Or if you're studying art, like this type of like texture rendering is not like a good use of your time. It's not difficult, it just takes time, and anybody can do it with enough time. But when you have a print on your wall and you can kind of like appreciate all of this work, I don't think it's useless. I think it is serving a purpose. But just maybe consider what your painting is for when you're making it. I am probably going to make some kind of a trailer out of it, but it's also something that I don't think that I should advertise too much. But I'm just gonna say this once in the middle of a really long stream now, that for the members there is now like a massive download folder that is just for this like limited slot of time. It's gonna be closing in January 31st, and it has over 50 different files of like high resolution artwork. There's an entire brush set that the brush set is like more expensive to buy on Gumroad than the membership and all of the other downloads in this set. That's why it's not a good deal for me as a content maker, but I just wanted to give something special for the people who have like been members on this channel. And there are often people who start membership and then they notice that there are all these like downloads that have expired because they are time limited. So I wanted to compile like some of my favorite downloads into like one massive set. So if you have been listening to this live stream for this long, now you know that that is a thing that you can get on the membership right now. But if you're watching this video 1.5 months from now, then that is already gone. And once the folders are gone, they are gone forever. There are also like tons and tons of my favorite palettes for Procreate that you can download. Other brushes as well. And textures. Like, textures are something that I use with almost all of my paintings when they are done. And those are something that you always want to have on your whatever device that you are painting on, because when you need them, it's so boring to try to find ones that you can use for yourself and to find them in a good enough resolution that they work with any kind of painting. And the textures that I make myself with my scanner here, they are tiling textures. So it doesn't matter what resolution they are, because you can just put them in the 100% resolution. And if it doesn't reach the ends of your canvas, you can just keep copying them side by side, and the edges will match perfectly because it's a looping texture. It will loop into both directions, vertically and horizontally. So it will always be like crisp resolution on a painting. And then there are also textures that are already pre-leveled in a way that you can just set them into overlay blend mode, and it will add just this very subtle element of texture without changing the colors or the lightness or darkness of the painting. And that also takes time to find that level of gray in between where you're just slightly darkening colors in certain areas and just slightly brightening them in other zones. But with those textures, all of that work has already been done for you. You can just slap it on and move on with your life. Whenever I talk about membership downloads, I think those textures are the thing that like nobody is like asking for, but they are honestly so useful that even if you like right now don't see any use for them, like just download them on your device anyway, because when you realize like how useful they are for that final touch, especially when you are making art for print, it makes a huge difference. And it's such a pain, especially online, to find textures that can be just used, because this is the thing that is easiest to sell online when people are searching for it. So all the search results when you start searching for them online are just for stock texture shops that sell that same thing as a product. This is adding a subtle bounce light from the bridge deck, just to give those handrail elements a little bit more variety. I think it's starting to look pretty nice. I need to make myself, I'm terrible at doing this, but I really do need to make myself a list where I can just check off the brushes that I have done live streams on. Otherwise, we will never get through this because like there's no guarantee that I won't repeat this mistake again and start a live stream on a brush that I have already covered in one of these streams. I know myself well enough not to trust myself with any kind of like organizational skills like that I would just keep in my head. It's nice to have dog treats on the table so I can just hand them to my boss, who is now much more calm and satisfied. It's already 1. Okay. Maybe I'm doing now stuff that is not that important. Am I happy with it? I think that this cloud is bothering me. Like this blob over here, it's just... I'm gonna work on that later a little bit more to add just slightly more drama to it, if that makes sense. But I'm not happy with the way that it's looking. Otherwise, I'm really happy with the look of this painting. Also, now would be a really good point, like if you have any ideas on like what kind of videos you would like me to make next year, please let me know in the chat or on the comments of this video. I will like notice all of them anyway. Like I don't miss comments, like even if I can't reply to every one of them, no matter where you write, I will see them. And if there are any kind of like environment designs that you would like me to take on as a challenge, I think that could be interesting to do. I might also do that just based on like if an interesting game comes out or an interesting game fails to live up to its expectations or could be improved or is already a great game, and it would be a design challenge to like come up with a new idea on it. Like for example, for the longest time I thought that doing a new environment design for either Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, I think it would be a really good design challenge because the color design is so well thought out and each color has such a like defined purpose within the game design that coming up with an entire like new visual motif for a new area that would read and be understandable within the context of the rest of that game, I think that would be a cool challenge. Now I'm gonna do something that I don't normally do. I'm gonna go on my sky layers over here. And I'm gonna do something crazy by adding a new layer that I'm going to fill completely with black. Continue filling, like where is it? It's tiny. It's a like 1 pixel line. Okay, now that sky layer is filled with black, I'm gonna go on the top layer, and here I'm gonna go into add, copy canvas, and paste. Now the canvas is pasted without the blue of that sky, especially since I have such a bright sky. I can get rid of that black layer. And now when I do glows on this layer, it's not going to add the blue of the sky for me to battle with. So if I go here and put this into screen blend mode, I'm just gonna duplicate this layer, just in case. And you can see that like the blue of the sky remains the same. I'm gonna go into curves, crunch down all of the shadow colors. So now it's just adding this. And then I'm going to do the blur. And I can already see that this would work well with the tree itself. I'm just going to drag this. I'm gonna duplicate it first. And then drag it on the tree itself. So here's the tree, here are all the clipping masks. I'm gonna put it here. Can you see what it does? Like it just fills in, like for example here. It's taking away some of that contrast in the shadows, right in an area where it's beneficial for this. When I mask, I'm gonna also paint some of this area away, because I do want there to be some contrast here. Also like the way that sky cloud brightness is bleeding onto this area over here. I just want to control how strongly it's doing it, so that I don't end up with a blurry painting, but I am going to leave 100% of it happening here. And on the tree branches. Can you see what a difference it makes to the way that light is interacting with all of this? I can even like check to see, like if I duplicate this, like what kind of impact it would have with the rest of the painting. It's gonna get rid of this black layer over here. Add a mask to it, and now that I'm painting on this, I am painting with like hard brush strokes, but they are painting into view that glow that I just hid with a black layer mask. And it might not look like much, but this is adding to that kind of bright, saturated light that is bringing out the saturation of these colors when it reaches the shadow areas. And I can't add texture to the shadow areas this way, but that's fine because I want most of the texture to be happening in light areas anyway. Because if we know anything from composition theory, we know that that's where people will be looking. So it makes sense that like this is where we spend most of our time and attention creating texture that explains our painting. Even though these are details, I am following that same flow of brushstrokes that is describing the character of this surface. I would love to see a Tears of the Kingdom Breath of the Wild inspired environment design from you. Like, maybe when we get like some news of like what the theme or like location even the next Zelda game will be, then it will be like a huge stretch of time before we get more information about it, and in between that, like maybe that could be used like as a speculation, like this is what it could look like. Or even before we know what the next Zelda game is gonna look like, maybe we could just like invent a scenario where we kind of like design an art style from scratch for the next Zelda. I do think that like the next Zelda is probably going to stick quite close to this art style with Tears of the Kingdom, because it's so perfect in so many ways that like anything would probably like easily feel like a downgrade from it. But they do tend to like reinvent the wheel every time for every Zelda game, for the environment and the entire art style. So I think that could be an interesting challenge. One idea that I think would be an idea where people would be more willing to accept a new art style is that we know that they're not gonna do a Mario Maker type of a Zelda game. But if they did, like it would probably require an art style that fits that like top-down view. Like they could probably use the existing Link to the Past look to it as well. Or is it Link to the Past? No, I'm thinking about Link's Awakening style. But if that type of a game had a different art style, I think people wouldn't be that upset that it doesn't look like Breath of the Wild anymore. And it would have all of these different aspects that it needs to read, the usable items and so on. Almost as usable level design blocks for the players. Maybe this is not what actually people want. Maybe I just want to see Link in a hard hat. I think it would be cute. I also have my own game idea that I think is never gonna get made. So if I post like concept art of it online, it's not gonna be used. Like, and even if somebody stole the idea, I would be happy to play it as a gamer. So doing like a concept art project where I show like the game idea and the various process of like the character designs and doing like a gameplay mock-up image and concept art for it. I think that could be a fun project to show like how games are pitched and sold to publishers. That's also a site that I don't think I've seen online at all. Like whenever, like just generally, I think my big issue with like people talking about concept art on YouTube is that like they are always talking about promotional art. They're never talking about actual concept art, and so few people actually like even know what that means. They just think that like fantasy digital painting is concept art when it's just two completely different things. I was supposed to quit ages ago, but I just kept going, which is pretty selfish since like I'm not doing that important design work here. I'm just enjoying the painting, really. Mikko, thought I'd take a wild shot and ask you a Pokemon question. If you reimagined Gaussian's town from X and Y in a Legends game, what kind of atmosphere would you imagine it to have? I think that's a good question, but like has so many like different variables to it. Like, what would the time jump do to it? And also, how would the core loop of legends, like especially ZNA legends, have within that setting? Like, how would it kind of like feed back and forth a gameplay loop that could tie into the rest of that? I think those would probably have more to do with the aesthetics and how those two can be kind of balanced out with each other. I think that would be an interesting design challenge, but like it has so many different like dimensions to it that just out of the top of my head, I think I would have to just do a concept image to see what that would be like, or versions, because I think that could go into so many different directions depending on what the gameplay design purpose in that area would be. That I know that that's a non-answer, but it's an interesting question. Somebody's saying portraits, figures, hands for future paintings. Yes, I should do hands. If I start studying hands, maybe someday I can do them, but I can show you me practicing hands. Fantastic, great to finish the year, our class. What do you think about other Procreate YouTubers like James Julier or Art with Flow? I love them. I don't know Flo that well. I've had like one conversation with her. She seems like the kindest person. And same with James Julier. I think James has been like incredibly like generous sharing the information that he has for like his process, and the way that he, like, for example, uploads YouTube stuff. It's thanks to him that I've been like starting to go back into these live streams and deleting some of the intro ads from these videos, because he told me that like YouTube just wants to get the ads out of the way, because that's the way that they can get their kind of commitment to the advertisers done. So they don't care about their viewer retention, so they just like block the beginning of the streams with ads to get those out of the way. So I go there and manually like pick out the ad slots away so that every YouTube live stream doesn't start with tons of ads. Same with my normal videos, there are just like a bazillion ad slots in the first 2 minutes of a video, and if a viewer bounces off because of the ads, like that's a huge retention hit for me as a YouTuber. And that is all thanks to James that I even do that, because of him being able to like share all of that. And he didn't have to at all, it's just because he's so nice that he kindly did it without asking. I think that's healthy as a concept artist to always have something in the back of your mind that's your own. Yes. And I just think that one game idea that I've had for a really long time, I know that it's never gonna get made. Okay, like we've been here 3 hours. I might as well reveal that like the topic is this sort of like time management system, where the core theme is a relationship between 3 different characters. And I think it's a concept that I haven't seen in games, but there are existing games that do like time resource management systems and farming games that could like really well tie into this loop. And I think it would be just an interesting twist. Like, this is very selfish of me, but like to play like a farming game that has fishing and all of these systems that I as a gamer liked and I find relaxing, and instead of this sort of like forced monogamy that I feel so oppressing in many games, to just have this relationship with 2 people that would be just like part of the gameplay loop, because that's what I would like to see in games one day without it being like a huge deal. And I would love to like implement the different languages of love in a way that like different people have different needs to have their emotional needs met, and it's through like actions that they do in game and the way that they spend time together. Okay. Obviously this is a very like personal thing to me because it's what I would like to see in a game. And I don't think anybody will do this game because like once they hear this pitch, they're like, okay, that is 0% of our audience, we're out, let's not put money into this. But I just want to like figure out the design process of that, so I would like to do that someday. There, I said it. Thank you everybody for joining this stream. I wish you the best new year, and I'm really excited about the new projects that are coming next year. I already hinted this in the membership, but there's going to be like exciting stuff happening in the membership next year. We are going to do the shape design sessions to completion, so there's like one more art assignment week for those. And then we're gonna start with new things. Okay, that's all. If you have any requests for new videos or topics, like, please, even without the chat, you can always write a comment to this YouTube video or any YouTube video about what you would like to see in the future, and I will be reading all of them. Thank you again for joining this very long random session about a tree out of many trees, but I'm very happy with the painting. I think it makes me feel good. It's nice to see some colors. I'm gonna go and take Vivi out for a walk before the rockets start exploding outside, while it's still nice and easy for her. Happy New Year, and thank you for being here and supporting me keeping this YouTube channel running. I have to be honest that this year has been like probably like the toughest one that I've had to like reevaluate several times if I can keep doing this. But it's thanks to like everybody who is like viewing this channel and supporting me in the membership or like buying any of my products or just watching these videos that it's at all possible. So I'm like really thankful and like incredibly grateful. Like without you, like this really would not have been possible. It wouldn't have been possible for me to make these videos for all these years. So like even if this is the last year, I just want to say that like I'm very grateful that we were able to do at least this. Like of course I want to keep doing more videos, but if this is all there is, like then like I think already this is pretty incredible part of my life to have lived through. Okay, thank you. I'll see you, and Vivi will see you in the next video. Bye. Kyllä, saat nappuloita. This is why I had the extra kibbles.